Tryp, Bedtime Shorts, written and illustrated by Brian C. Hales. Read by James Woodrich and Kim Churchill.
Bedtime.
Go to sleep, Tryp,
Liam says. Tryp shakes his head.
My brain is too busy creating imaginary situations that will probably never happen.
Liam rolls to his side to ignore Tryp. Tryp leaves his room and steps quietly down the hallway, dragging Liam along under his arm.
Mom?
Tryp calls out, assuming she's in the kitchen. Sure enough, after a few moments, Mom's voice rings back from just around the corner.
It's time for bed, Tryp. I already tucked you in.
Tryp walks in.
I'm thirsty. Can I please have a glass of water?
Mom sighs. She's busy putting some gift baskets together on the kitchen island. Reluctantly, she stops what she's doing to pour Tryp a cup of water and sends him back to bed. 5 minutes later, Tryp returns to the kitchen.
Mom?
It's bedtime, Tryp. This is not a negotiation.
Mom, have you ever heard of somnophobia? I think I might be suffering from an intense fear of sleep. People with this phobia may be afraid of having night terrors, experiencing sleep paralysis, or even dying in their sleep.
You don't have somnophobia, Tryp. Go back to your room.
Tryp thinks a moment, then returns to bed. 5 minutes later, Tryp again walks down the hallway with Liam in tow.
Mom!
Mom's voice shoots back angrily.
For the love of all that's good and wholesome, Tryp, bedtime. I won't say it again. Stay in your room or so help me, child.
She looks up at the ceiling, obviously frustrated.
Mom, I just wanted to remind you that on Noah's Ark, there only needed to be 2 of every kind of animal. So they didn't need lions and tigers, but they did require bears.
He thinks a moment, blinking.
Oh, and dogs.
Thanks for clearing that up for me, Tryp.
She points angrily toward the hallway.
Bed. Now.
Tryp takes pause, then calmly returns to his bedroom. Everything okay? Dad asks as he walks into the kitchen. Mom glances his way, then throws up her arms like she could scream.
Funny how when bedtime rolls around, our child becomes a dehydrated, philosophical insomniac.
Dad grins. I love you, honey. Under the bed.
Liam, I can't sleep.
Tryp says with a sigh.
I love sleeping.
Says Liam.
It's like hibernating without the commitment.
Arnie, perched on Tryp's bedpost, leans down.
Staying up past your bedtime again, Tryp. You know it, Arnie. I too like to live dangerously.
Quiet, thou.
Liam says, annoyed at the bird.
Shut up, Grace.
Arnie retorts.
That's Kodiak to you, Featherbeak.
Shh.
Tryp shushes them both.
You hear that?
They all stop to listen.
What is it?
Arnie asks.
Quiet.
Tryp imagines the scary darkness beneath them and what might be lurking inside it.
I don't hear anything.
Faint growling noises softly arise from underneath the bed. Tryp shakes, terrified.
Just relax and close your eyes,
Says the bear.
There's nothing to worry about.
Stop trying to make sleep happen, Liam. It's not going to happen.
Well, I'm officially out of order for the next 8 hours.
He replies.
Good night.
And with that, he rolls onto his side under the sheets. Tryp and Arnie continue to listen.
You hear that, Arnie?
Tryp asks.
That breathing. That's monster breath.
Arnie fluffs his feathers anxiously.
You should go check it out.
Tryp looks up at the bird.
I'm not going down there. You go check it out. That's what sea eagles were made for. That's not accurate. Get the bear to do it.
I'm not doing it,
Says Liam. Arnie scoffs.
Eagles can't do it.
Tryp shrugs.
Boys can't do it.
Liam repeats, this time with emphasis.
I'm not doing it.
5 minutes later, Liam disappears over the edge of the bed. Tryp and Arnie watch and listen intently, but hear nothing.
Liam, are you okay down there?
Tryp asks quietly.
What do you see? Any monsters?
A few unsettling moments pass.
Liam!
Tryp says. And then with urgency,
Liam!
Liam's deep bare whisper comes back.
I think I know who it is.
The monster?
Tryp asks.
Yeah.
Tryp's voice cracks.
Who is it?
The whole bed suddenly shoots into the air, popping Tryp and Arnie up toward the ceiling. They both land on the floor with a crash, the mattress falling on top of them in a heap. Liam is on the ground next to them, laughing hysterically.
You're the monster under the bed, Tryp.
Tryp?
Mom shouts from the other room.
What was that ruckus?
Tryp stares ahead, resting his head on his hands, and utters,
Liam, I'm sending you back to the Arctic.
Camping. Time for bed, you two, Dad says, as he tucks Tryp, his little sister Maddie, Liam, and Arnie into their comfy sleeping bags.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, Dad.
Says Tryp. Mom smiles. Dad straightens up. That's so,
Yes.
Tryp says.
And besides, it's 4, counting Liam and Arnie. Can't you manage basic arithmetic?
5.
Says Maddie.
Don't forget my unicorn, Sparkle Glittertail.
Sure, sis.
Tryp rolls his eyes and looks back at Dad.
And you haven't told us ghost stories yet. And we didn't do s'mores. And it's only 8:59.
Dad thinks for a moment. You know, when I was a kid, bedtime was at 9 p.m., just like yours. I couldn't wait to be a grown-up so I could go to bed anytime I wanted. Turns out that is 9 p.m.,
You said this camping trip was going to be intense.
Tryp says, ignoring his dad joke. So he answers with another. You're in a tent, aren't you? Maddie and Mom offer courtesy laughs. Tryp merely gives a sarcastic,
Ha, ha.
oh, lighten up, Dad says. Camping's a tradition in my family,
It was a tradition in everyone's family,
says Mom.
until they invented the house.
And that's why Mommy and Daddy will be in the camp trailer, Dad says. Mom kisses Tryp and Maddie on their foreheads.
But don't worry, we'll be right next to you all night. Sweet dreams.
This is like a sentence to solitary confinement.
Tryp says.
And never mind the spiders.
If only 3 people could fit on a double, Dad says. You'll be fine. Mom and Dad leave the tent and zip it up.
Or the scorpions.
Tryp adds.
Or aliens.
Dad says in a creepy voice from outside.
Don't get abducted.
Tryp, Liam, Arnie, and Maddie listen as Mom and Dad step into the camp trailer and shut the door.
I love camping.
Says Liam.
I'm not afraid of anything. But they say you people in sleeping bags are the soft tacos of the bear world.
Very funny.
Arnie says.
And what about eagles?
Midnight snacks.
I'm not even scared of sleeping on these rocks.
Maddie pipes in.
Good night, you beautiful buddies.
Tryp stares up at the ceiling of the tent, petrified, whispering to himself.
Aliens?
I said good night, Tryp.
Maddie presses.
Night, Matty Cakes. Glittertail.
Later that night, the last of the campfire coals burn out, and moonlight bathes the black forest. Animal noises create an eerie ambience that permeates the dark tent where the children sleep, at least all but Tryp. In the camp trailer, Mom and Dad snore soundly in their tiny shared bed. Tryp continues to stare up at the ceiling of the tent. He listens to the unsettling noises, resenting everyone else for being out cold in their sleeping bags and blankets.
Aliens?
Tryp whispers to himself.
Aliens. Alien. Abduction?
A strange low rumbling from high in the sky slowly descends onto the campground. The ceiling of the tent grows lighter and becomes a flaming orange. Tryp's eyes widen with terror, and he begins to tremble.
No, it can't be.
A huge UFO drops down from the starry heavens above to hover just over their tent. Inside the camp trailer, Mom and Dad awake to Tryp shouting hysterically outside.
Fire in the sky! Fire in the sky!
Is that Tryp?
Mom asks, rubbing her sleepy eyes. What, honey? Dad listens carefully. They throw open the camp trailer door to find Tryp running circles around the fire pit in his underwear.
I've been abducted! Don't hurt us! We're just a bunch of middle-class white people pretending to be homeless! We don't deserve to die or be experimented on!
Tryp, what are you doing? Dad says.
Be quiet! There are other people camping around us!
Tryp,
Mom asks.
what happened to your pajamas?
Tryp stops running, exhausted and panting.
They did experiments! Took my jammies!
He falls onto his back. Dad shakes his head.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Mom runs down to scoop Tryp up in her arms and carry him inside. She glares at Dad.
I blame you. Fine, Tryp. You can sleep in the camp trailer.
Dad looks around. Guess I'm in the tent. Should have seen that coming. Mom closes the door, leaving Dad standing just outside the tent. He sighs. What do you want to bet they'll find us in the morning? This has been Tryp, Bedtime Shorts, written and illustrated by Brian C. Hales. Read by James Woodrich and Kim Churchill.
Tryp makes his thrilling and hilarious debut in a series of 3 adventurous bedtime short stories, where he must face his fear of monsters, aliens, night terrors, and yes, sleep itself. Tryp, Bedtime Shorts, now available at Amazon and other book retailers.